Hey guys, it's Brian. Before you go ahead and do anything else, make sure you leave a like and subscribe and turn on those notifications if you want to see more content like this in the future. Anyways, on to the video. Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome back to the Yugioh video. And so, after 11 days after the ban list came out, I finally made it to 1,000 rating. So, we finally made it to the goal, 1,000 as soon as possible. So it took me a little bit longer than what I was anticipating if it wasn't for that losing streak that I was on. But we were able to make it. So I want to thank you guys for your support. So we're gonna go ahead and get right into the matchup. This is one of my very few matches. This is like I think my second to last match before I actually reached the 1,000 rating. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So as you can see, my opening hand was Alistair, Punishment, Squamata, Ash, and Invocation. And my opponent opened up with Eldlich the Golden Lord, Forbidden Droplets, Sanguine, Cursed Outland, and Fleur-de-lis. So all in all, it's a pretty good hand for me against Eldlich Dogmatika, but I was not aware that he was playing Zoo Eldlich Dogmatika until I saw the Zoo cards later on in the game. So here he starts out by going ahead and activating the Cursed Outland. And after pays the cost, I decide to Ash it because I want to keep him off Golden Lord as much as I can, even if it means that I'm going to go ahead and have to deal with Sanguines. So he already had it in his hand, so he goes ahead and pitches the Sanguine to go ahead and get rid of Cursed Outland to go ahead and set the Hawquero, and sets the Forbidden Droplet as well. So he goes ahead and banishes both to go ahead and get the Sanguine and another Conquistador, and in this case another Conquistador. So I draw into Dark Magician, which is not the best hand, which is not the best card to draw on this hand. So I start out by normal summoning the Alistair, trying using the effect. He goes ahead and chains Sanguine and also the droplets to go ahead and negate my Alistair. So he summons the Golem from deck, and in this case, since I already have the Invocation in hand, I decide to go ahead and get into Almirage since I know he has the Conquistador set. Use the Invocation, get rid of his Golden Lord and Grave, and so I make my own Mechabot, and using Invocation's effect, I go ahead and put back the Alistair back to hand. So I just set the punishment and at the end of my turn. I was considering holding on to it to just banish the Hawquero, but I wasn't aware of what he was fully playing. So I just decided to keep the Almirage just to keep it as a resource because I do want the punishment as an interruption to banish the Golden Lord. So in standby phase, I go ahead and simply just get rid of the Golden Lord here by pitching my Apkalon. And with Apkalon's effect, I'm just going to go ahead and get the Schism and pitch the Squamata. And with the Squamata, I'm going to get rid of the Aerial. And with the Aerial, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the Trap App and his Golden Lord. So he decides to chain it, which is the most logical thing to do. Which, looking back on it, I think he was only allowed to do this in main phase. Nope, he can do it anytime. So here, he goes ahead and normal summons the Ram and goes into Borbo. And so from here, he just goes ahead and uses Chakanine, Hammer Kong to get into Zeus. I go ahead and just chain in the Mechaba to Zeus to banish it. And right away, getting rid of the Dark Magician. And he decides to go ahead and just set that. So since I'm under punishment, I just go ahead and just set the Schism just in case he was playing any form of Mystic Mine. I want to avoid that. So he goes ahead and activates Nadir to go ahead and get Ecclesia. I immediately go ahead and after he declares Entis to pop, I go ahead and just chain Schism to make window. So here he goes ahead and normal summons the Ecclesia, getting the punishment, and just sets it. So in the standby phase, it doesn't do anything. Main phase 1, I immediately just go into Foolish to go ahead and pop the set. And he decides to chain it, going for Omega, but since Winter can't be destroyed by card effects, it's not really going to affect me too much. So I go ahead and normal summon Alistair. He decides to chain the Fleur de Lis. Perfectly fine with me. So since he already used a special summon, that was the last card in hand, I'm pretty confident in my next play. So I go ahead and use the window to attack. Main phase 2. Go ahead and make Verte. Get the Schism back to hand. And go ahead and use Verte to go ahead and send Shaddoll Fusion to make another window. And also assist my Schism. Here he draws Tenki, which is really going to help him. So I go ahead and before he goes into battle phase, I just go ahead and make Construct, setting the Fleur de Lis. And with the Construct, I go ahead and get Hedgehog to go ahead and add a Wendy to hand. From here, he just goes ahead and gets Ram with Tenki and passes. So I tap the Meltdown here in order for me to go ahead and get into Alistair right away, which is the best thing in this point because it was the best possible top deck. I go ahead and get Alistair, normal summon it to go ahead and get my Invocation, and from here it'd be game because I'm just gonna make Argoides and he won't be able to special summon a monster without having the monster cleared out the board. So heading into game 2. So my hand isn't really the greatest, but for going against Zoo, I really appreciate having the Shaddoll Fusion in hand. So my opponent here has Whiptail, Conquistador, Tenki, Sanguine, and Golden Lord, which is pretty good to start out. And I have my Shaddoll Fusion, Droplets, Alistair, Meltdown, and Rush. So he goes for Tenki, goes ahead and adds Ram. Normal summons a Ram, and seizes into Trident after putting down the Hammer Kong first. Sets both the Sanguine and the Conquistador. And so from here, I go ahead and start with going into my Meltdown. So he decides to go ahead and activate Trident here. Looking back on it, I probably could have done that same thing, with Shaddoll fusion, and but I wanted to keep him from popping the Trident, so that way I can make sure that he allows the fusion go through. But I could have just gone with fusion into, he could have chained Trident, and from there I could have just gone into droplets to force out the Conquistador. But because I decided to go ahead and use it here, which isn't really the best option, trying to bait it out, I decided to chain the rush. This is a big misplay on my part. I could have just gone ahead, Shaddoll fusion and response if he had and I could have just gone ahead and chain droplets with rush to go ahead and make these two useless and eventually popping one. So here, after activating Shaddoll fusion, if getting my Alistair, I go ahead and use Shaddoll fusion before linking away or anything, just to see how he reacts. Goes ahead and pops his own Trident. Can't resolve the fusion. So I go ahead and link away into Mirage. Go for Purgatrio, which I believe was a mistake. Try to go ahead and I didn't even notice that he put the Conquistador in his graveyard when it shouldn't have been, which does affect the game. And so from here, goes ahead and draws into Whiptail, almost summons that, goes into Borbo, attacks directly, goes for Zeus after this. So it didn't affect this part of the game, but it did affect from my attack. So that's what I was trying to make clear before. So in the phase, he just sets one, and in phase, he's going to trigger both of his effects. So he does set the droplet in this case, because I only have Alistair in hand, I don't really have many options. So I top deck a Meltdown, activate it, add the third Alistair. Decides to go for Sanguine. Normal summon the Alistair, and he goes ahead and droplets me. So heading into game 3, not really much to say here, because I was just trying to go for my usual combo, but I have Punishment, Droplets, Wendy, Nadir, and Alistair, with him having Ecclesia, Thoroughblade, Nadir, Droplets, and Sanguine. So he doesn't have a hand trap, which is pretty good for me in this situation, because I'm pretty much just going to set up a board where it's going to be really hard for him to out. So I start off with the Alistair, get my Invocation, go into Artemis, fusion into the Mechaba, get Invocation back into the deck so I can get my Alistair back to my hand. Use Nadir to get Alpkalone, get the Ecclesia into my hand. Get Schism, and I'll go ahead and pitch the Wendy. Wendy effect, I will go ahead and get the Beast. And I decided to hold back on getting the Ecclesia on board because I do have punishment. I just set the Schism so I can go ahead and put a Construct on board if it's any form of interrupting him. But that way I can go ahead and try and go for Dragoon in the next turn, and I have Mechaba with Droplets and Punishment as a way of getting any important cards. So here I go for Winda to avoid him trying to special summon into other things. And if he does come into a special summon, and he won't be able to go into Zeus. So he goes for Borbo and attacks directly. He uses Droplet here to go ahead and negate both the Mechaba and the Winda, pitching the Thoroughblade and the Scarlet Sanguine. And here he goes all the way into Zeus, and using Zeus effects, he's going to go ahead and get rid of both the Winda and the Mechaba, but I do get Schism and Beast in the grave as well, so Beast will trigger and Winda will trigger, getting Schism back to my hand. I top deck into a Harpies, which isn't the greatest in this situation because he doesn't have a lot of background. And so he special summons his Ecclesia and gets his Fleur-de-Lis. So I top deck into the Cosmic, so it's pretty good. So I just decided to go ahead and shotgun it, so that way he doesn't have a way of banishing of chaining it or banishing it to search out the Scarlet. And the only way he would have avoided the Cosmic of banishing it would be to chain the Zeus, but because he has Fleur-de-Lis in hand, he didn't want to get rid of it. So I go ahead and chain Droplets to Zeus. Normal summon Alistair, and he immediately chains the Fleur-de-Lis to negate the effect. But luckily for me, I do have ways of still playing, so I go ahead and link it to Amaraj, special summon out my Ecclesia, go into Verte, and go for Dragoon. And with Dragoon, I'm going to get rid of his Ecclesia and Zeus with the effect and attack over the Fleur-de-Lis. And with one card in hand, I pretty much feel very comfortable at this point, so I set both the Punishment and the Schism. So here, he goes for Nadir. I'm perfectly fine with that, meaning he has no extra deck. Adds Fleur-de-Lis. He goes ahead and targets the Punishment. I'm perfectly fine with that. And I told him that Fleur-de-Lis declares, which it does, and I simply just go ahead and chain the Schism. So even if he could get rid of it, I'm pretty much just fine, because if he tries to attack with the Fleur-de-Lis and tries to beat over anything, I'm simply just going to Dragoon effect it. So that was the game. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, I really want to thank you guys for the support after getting this way to 1,000. So feel free to go ahead and leave a like and subscribe. It really does help the channel a lot. And let me know down below what you want to see in the future. If you want to go ahead and continue seeing more ranked, or if you want to go ahead and see me play any other decks. But anyways, see you next time.